On today's show, the Cavs didn't have Donovan Mitchell, but they took care of business in Charlotte because there was no sting. Do Hornets sting? I don't know, but this is the metaphor I'm going with. Let's talk about it on a new episode of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by Ultimate Basketball GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your broadcast for a basketball franchise? Then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimatebasketballgm.com or look it up on the App Store. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On. That is all caps in the game. All right, I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. This is produced by Jake Stevens. The music you heard on the way in is from our friends at Astro Radio. Evan, you're not in class. What's up?
So, Hornets, you asked, do they sting? Yes, they absolutely do sting. And the difference between bees and hornets is hornets can survive a sting. Bees, meanwhile, rip out their intestines every time they sting. So, interesting fun facts. Insect facts with Evan. Anyways, the Cavs maced. I don't know, maced.
They went to like your local heart. Yeah, they used bug spray. So very easy win.
Those videos of the dudes who flamethrower hornets nests, like it was that kind of situation.
It's like the Stranger Things meme, but like on hornets instead of the upside down. You know, like where that guy's got the flamethrower and he's just like.
At least they aren't marble hornets, so.
That sounds scary. All right, so. Very easy win for the Cavs, Evan. No Donovan Mitchell. He gets sent out of office. He's injury managing that injured finger. Obviously, no Jarrett Allen. Don't know yet if he's going to play Wednesday against Philly, but it seems like if he does, no. I don't even know what that would look like if he did. Here's what I think just matters from this game. Yeah, well, he needs goggles. He should wear goggles. I'm very firmly on the fact that he should wear goggles.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. But this game, they just cruise. The Cavs cruise. They got an easy win. This is just like a really nice March win against a bad team. That's all this is. That is the significance of this game to me. It's that simple.
I'm in full agreement with you. When I talked with Justin Rowan about this for Tuesday's show, like what to watch for in this game, I was curious to see how Cleveland would kind of adjust. They had that emotional hangover in Miami. They had just the South Beach nightlife in general to deal with. And they came into Charlotte on daylight savings and looked a little lethargic out there and, didn't look fully like themselves. And then you see there's no Donovan Mitchell, clearly no Jarrett Allen as well. So like there's a little bit of reason for concern coming in, but the Cavs came in, they imposed their will on Charlotte early and they didn't really let their foot off the throat or the thorax of the Hornets until the very end of this one. And golly, man, like the Hornets are a dreadful basketball team, but like you said, like they took care of business. And I think more than anything, like the role players stepped up in this one big time. Levert had a huge game. Jetty Osmond was massive. Of course, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley were great as well. And I'll touch on them in a second. But I think the Cavs being able to lean on these role guys and maybe get some fresher-ish legs heading into Wednesday's game against Philly is super beneficial, especially when you still have a very slim chance of securing the 3 seed somehow.
Yeah, I mean, this sets the stage for Wednesday. This is about getting through healthy. This is about getting the Cavs in a position to just have the most energy possible. Like, I mean, the most important person that applies to is Mitchell. Because if Donovan Mitchell is fully go, his finger feels a little bit better. There's been some reporting about how like he's like this might be like a couple week thing if this was late in the year. Like he's playing through it and it's uncomfortable. He's like doing extra shooting drills to have himself get more comfortable. He's like having it bump back into place when he's shooting. It's like a whole thing. This is like a real annoyance. And yet we're here and like they have this big game. He's playing through it. He's a competitor. He's a winner, all that stuff. All you needed to do here was win. You could have looked ahead and all that stuff. And like there's not like Evan, there's not a single like tactical thing that I will say like, okay, like I need to go back to the March 14th Cavs Hornets game and pull up this certain set, because like that's just not what this game was. That's not what it is.
No,
and that's okay.
Again, Justin Rowan and I talked about this. Like, there's not a lot you can take from these games anymore, just because a lot of these teams are either priming themselves for the draft lottery, or in Cleveland's case, priming themselves for a playoff run, and maybe not obviously showing their hand and maybe showing what they have playoff wise. Like, there's not a lot left that you can figure out with this Cavs team. Like, you can't squeeze blood from the stone at this point. But if anything, I think this, and thankfully it happened, like it gave some of the other rule guys that you're maybe hoping can be like that 9th, 10th man or a break glass in cage of emergency come playoff time guy a little bit more of a rhythm, a little bit more confidence. You saw it for sure with Jetty and Karras tonight, but Dean as well. I think maybe even Danny Green getting a little bit of burn as well is just beneficial for him too. And obviously the rotations seem pretty much set about 8 or 9 players, but again, just getting a guy with like a little bit more flow within the offense probably helps a lot in the long term.
Dean Wade just getting up some shots is like good for Dean Wade. I don't think like Dean Wade
that's
like
my
played
biggest
well.
thing. Like he didn't play well, but the fact that he's like at least not showing hesitation on the perimeter is a positive sign.
It's something. It's at least like it's at least like Dean Wade being able to go out there and like play and get a little bit of run through. Evan, you hit on something in our planning doc that I think we should just hit on the last couple minutes of this segment.
Absolutely.
So the chemistry between Darius Garland and Evan Mobley is, I think, hit a really high level. I think I'm pretty sure the last time, I think it's not by an insignificant margin. Garland to Mobley is like a more frequent duo this year than Garland to Allen, which seems like a crazy thing considering last year like that was the Garland to Allen thing was such a prolific duo. But Mobley and Allen is like a great duo. Every lineup with them pretty much works, and like the Mobley small lineups, like where Mobley's the 5 and it's shooting, like most of them are Garland at point guard, and like I think that feels very intentional. I think that feels right. These guys are like very much in sync, and like it's growth, I think, in Darius's part and on feeding another kind of big, but it's also like Evan's really, really improved and grown up as a roll man, as a finisher.
And yeah, it's just Mobley, his offensive growth and leap, I guess you want to call it, catching up to just how good he has been defensively all season long, has just been crazy to watch. But yeah, the 2-man chemistry between Mobley and Garland is great because, like you said, Garland and Allen it's their bread and butter for the Cavs. Like the pick and roll they operate with, whether it's a lob or a pass after the fact, or Garland getting a clean look anywhere on the floor, that's a good play to have in your wheelhouse if you're Cleveland. But it makes you a little static at times because teams, especially last season, started knowing like, hey, the Cavs like to run a lob out of the pick and roll for Jarrett Allen to open a game just to maybe set the tone and get Allen going. And teams started defending that a lot better. So making that more multifaceted and building that repertoire with Mobley is helpful. And I think Allen and Garland, that's a great combo you have right there, but it has its limitations. With Evan Mobley, there's the playmaking, there's the shooting upside, there's a little bit of the defensive stuff, there's the fact that like he can be the ball handler in certain plays as well, Garland playing off ball or acting in the pick and roll between the way they do, and like the fact that Mobley isn't so adverse to setting harder screens now is super helpful for this too. But there's just a lot of just neat stuff, and it's like on a cerebral level too. Like Garland had a shot that wasn't, or tried to find a shot that wasn't there, did a quick 360 and dumped it to Mobley, who was trailing, and Mobley got a clean look at the basket. Like it's just small stuff like that you come to appreciate as these two continue to grow and blossom and hopefully become the face of this organization for the better part of the next decade.
Mobley, in the little clip they showed of him not understanding what a unicorn was very funny to me, because of course like Evan Mobley's like, I don't understand what that means, but I guess it's a compliment, and I'm just like, of course. He's
the driest person ever, but I think
I also just like believe him.
Appreciate it at times. Yeah, I do too. Like he's very deadpan and everything, but he's just like yes, no, or very straightforward answer.
Yes. All right, let's go on a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna dive into our game awards for this one, but first we have our break, and today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Basketball GM. Look, we're really geeked out here at Locked On Cavs about our new partner and sponsor of today's episode, the mobile game Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. In this game, you're responsible for hiring the right coaches and assistants, trading and training players, making draft picks, navigating the franchise through free agency and the draft, and all of the ups and downs of a season. All of this is in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is completely free and playable offline, play on the go as you want and when you want to. This seems like something that is awesome to do with friends. I know there's a lot of Locked On hosts in our group DM that have loved it and embraced it, played through full seasons already, been sharing their screenshot. It looks like a ton of fun. Right now, Locked On Cavs listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDON in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the App Store. That's probasketballgm.com, Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, we're back here in another dynasty, the Locked On Cavs podcast. I'm Chris Manning.
It's just begun, and it's never going to end. Chris and I will be here forever and ever and ever.
Well, that's a long time. I don't,
Locked On Cavs in the retirement home? Heck yeah.
If we're doing that, we're just going to be like live on TikTok, and that's going to be like weird for everybody. Or whatever. So whatever like TikTok is for like whatever generation is like 90 bajillion after that. All right, so Evan, game awards. I think you could go a lot of ways with MVP. So
yeah, you go there's first. A lot of options. I'm going to go with Evan Mobley at the end of the day, just because it's just fascinating to watch his offensive growth and evolution, but like the defensive catalyst that he was tonight and just being such a huge fact in Cleveland to just clamp down on Charlotte defensively and nearly every phase of the game, like that deserves a lot of recognition. And to your point, there's a lot of MVP candidates in this game. It could be Mobley, it could be Garland, it could be Levert, it could be Osman, it could even be Isaac Okoro if you want to be really weird about it. If Isaac Okoro did something that just stands out at the end of it, but it's just Evan Mobley. He is evolving into Cleveland's third best player, maybe second best player, just because of how consistent he's been lately. But yeah, tonight was just one of those moments where he stepped up to play the 5 in Jarrett Allen's absence, and he was aggressive all throughout this game, which is exactly what you want from a guy that you kind of are putting the weight of the franchise on.
I go Darius Garland. I pick Garland, pick Levert, pick Mobley. I think all of them are MVP worthy for this game. Where I go with Garland is just the aggression. Darius Garland, when he's aggressive, is just like this other level of guy. He's getting really good at drawing fouls. He's getting really good at making defenses kind of react to him in the paint. And I know that's harder to do it sometimes with Mitchell when he's not doing all that. And I know the game will slow down in the playoffs and all of that. But like this is like another level to Garland I think is really, really fun to just kind of consider what that kind of lock for him. I'm not saying like we want to watch Darius Garland become like a free throw merchant, but like that is like a clean way for him to improve his efficiency. Evan, go to your play of the night. What do you have for that? What do you have here?
It's a super simple one. It's the Karis LeVert yam in the first half. Like that was just a filthy, filthy dunk to kind of encapsulate a very good night for Karis LeVert. I mean, shoot, he was, I'm looking at the numbers as we talk here, 4 or 5 from three-point range, but that dunk was just like the exclamation point on a very definitive win for the Cavs.
Really good game from Karis. It was like hitting his threes, playing active, playing engaged on defense. Again, like we keep saying this. I know you and Justin had a really good conversation about this. I talked about it on the Monday show.
You sparked it for sure.
I try to at least like every 1 out of 100 things, be somewhat useful to the discourse.
But it's a valid point. Karis LeVert is doing everything the Cavs ask him to do, even if it's not the cleanest fit for him or the cleanest thing skill set wise. And the fact that he's kind of prioritizing over helping the team win versus just kind of getting that bag in free agency is kind of intriguing to watch.
The other person I want to shut off from this game, though, is Ricky Rubio, because I think he's looking good. I think his body and his movement is starting to look good. That when he's hitting those little like one-legged fadeaways, my eyebrows go up a little bit in interest.
I think that's a fair observation. Rubio had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He was consistently like a bench threat. I'm curious if there's somehow, some way over these last 12 games, if JB can utilize Rubio's kind of feeling more comfortable to get Dean Wade a little bit back into the fold, but Rubio's been playing well. And I think that's beneficial for you because you need some of these pieces to start clicking off the bench. And like, yeah, Karis LeVert's playing well, especially because there's no Donovan Mitchell. So it's him and Darius Garland. But like, if you can ride this LeVert momentum into the playoffs and you have Rubio feeling a little bit more comfortable, at least you have 2 somewhat reliable options coming off the bench. It's just the 8th, 9th man is still a bit of a toss up right now.
You know, if we're going to 8, we haven't mentioned his name, and he played a very good game. Defensively, I think you still saw some of the things that make you go, okay, like, don't know if we can do this. But yeah, Jetty Osman, 24 points, 6 of 10 from 3, 3 assists, no turnovers. Just, that dude will let shots rip. And I really respect him for it. I really enjoyed in this game when he had Evan Mobley underneath the rim and he like tried to like Euro step around the big at the rim instead of like the obvious dump off pass. I'm like, Jetty, never stop being you. Just never stop being you and living your best life on an NBA basketball court. I really respect it.
I respect it too. And I think if it's Jetty just trying to get minutes, if his shot is falling, like that mitigates the defensive issues. Like he provides you that spacing. I think people are somewhat. If you're able to cover it up with like your defensive freak and Evan Mobley and have Jarrett Allen as backline support, and you find like Lamar Stevens grinding it a little bit too, like there's ways to limit the impact Jetty Osman's lack of defense has on this team. And I think that's a pretty not easy fix, but it's a more simple fix than a lot of the other issues on this team. But like if his shot's falling, like you have to just kind of ride the wave and let him keep going. And then let's say he does a little too many of those cute Euro step plays and he's breaking a couple of his 3-pointers. Yeah, you pull the leash, but you know, shouts and credit at least to JB for riding the wave of Jetty Osman and not pulling the hook on him so soon.
Wonder if he gets any chance in the playoffs. I wonder. I don't know. It seems like
you
there's
have
a clear
to think
like
so.
I mean, unless he keeps it a really tight 8 and like maybe Lamar, maybe it's matchup. Maybe you need the threes and Lamar is not cutting it in that way. I don't know. That's a April question for. Okay, so stat of the night, we have the same one. Just all the points off of turnovers because there was a point in this game where the Cavs had like 0 turnovers. They like obviously like just dominated this game. Like they only trailed for like 3 minutes and 56 seconds. The final total for points off of turnovers in this game for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as I pull this up, is 35 points. 35 off of 22, I believe, Charlotte turnovers. 19 from players, 3 by the team.
So to crystallize it, in the first half, Charlotte had 15 turnovers. Cleveland had 1. Cleveland scored 25 points to Charlotte's 0 off of turnovers in the first half. Like they put the clamps on them in the first half and just rode that from there.
What a bat! Like honestly, good for both teams getting what they want out of this. You know, Charlotte gets to lose, Cavs get a win. You know, everyone goes home happy. I did enjoy. I don't know if enjoy is the right word. I did get a kick out of the broadcast, like repeatedly being like, you know, it's really quiet in here.
Yeah, I did get a kick out of it. I more so started noticing it after they pointed it out, and like you saw more of a pulse from the fans when Osman hit like that crazy 3-pointer. Whether it was the first half or the second half, or when like Danny Green checked into the game. So, yes. Hey man,
all right.
Getting whacked for Wemby is the Hornets mantra right now.
Yeah, good for them. All right, we're gonna come back. We're going to touch on Sam Merrill. There's nothing else for us to say about this Cavs game, but we'll talk about Sam Merrill. We're going to talk about why he gets the steal, why him, and also I think there's some dumb discourse about him and other Cavs wings who can shoot the basketball, which we'll talk about after this. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sports book of Locked On. Look, the midpoint of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. A bet I really like is, building parlays of 20-plus point scores. That's a fun way to pick through the different matchups, have fun with it. And obviously they have a ton of March Madness stuff right now because the tournament is here. So you can pick your whole bracket, pick single games. All of that stuff is over on FanDuel. Remember, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a bigger chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. They even have a helpful little same game parlay mode to let you know what you can and can't do in those. Plus, so don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockdown. That's FanDuel.com/lockdown to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, back Locked On Cavs. Chris Manning and Evan Dammarell here with you. Evan, let's go into Sam Merrill. Cavs.
Wow, you seem so excited about the Cavs signing Sam Merrill to a multi-year contract.
Okay, so here's the thing. Do you want to? I'm going to let you pick.
I'm ready to talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay, let's do that. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about like the all of the discourse around it.
Oh, I was going to talk about the discourse around it. So it makes sense for the Cavs to sign Merrill to a multi-year deal. Maybe they sell something. We'll start there, but maybe they sell something in shoot around, practice, whatever. Like the Cavs have practices the media aren't available for whatsoever. So figuring out that fine line clearly, but like maybe Merrill showed you something, and like this is something you and I have stressed for a really long time now. It's a path the Cavs use with a lot of their like 14th, 15th man guys, and whether they're on two ways or just with the charge in general. They give him a burn mostly with the charge, especially like in Merrill and Dean Wade's case, and maybe there's enough intrigue there to keep them around for summer league and then eventually training camp, and then you see how it goes from there. Like Merrill has that money, and the Cavs can, play God a little bit with his financial future in the NBA, but at least control the fact that they can keep him in house, and he's cost controlled depth, and just, I don't know, he's a solid third shooting guard off the bench for you. And if you need him in a pinch, that's great. You can use him then if you can rely on him.
Yeah, look, I don't know if Sam Merrill's good. I don't think anyone does. I don't. The Cavs.
I think he is good for the idea of just shooting. Like it's a very thin layer of what he can provide for the Cavs, and that's their biggest need. So I think that's where people are kind of foaming at the mouths, demanding he plays for some reason.
Okay, we'll get to the foaming at the mouth thing because that's weird, and we'll talk about it. The idea of Sam Merrill, I think, is like it's a successor to the Wade thing you shouted at. It's a successor to Lamar Stevens. You signed him to a multi-year deal. You had him in the G League. You got an up close look at him. He gives you something you think you need in a role player. He can shoot it. Like he's 40% in the G League for his career, 40% as Olympian stint. Was like a very good shooter in 4 years at Utah State. Obviously, like he's a little bit older than those guys, so he's 26 right now. He's going to be 27 in May. This isn't like a 22-year-old prospect. This is a guy that was a 4-year college player. He's a little bit older. So
he won a championship with the Bucks.
Okay. But so did Mami Diakite. And
I know, but just to give context of how long he's been in the league.
But it's like he's 26, and he's going to be 27 before next season. But before the Cavs could still be in the playoffs, he could be turning 27 years old. What he does well is shoot. And I think if you're saying, okay, we desperately need shooting, we desperately need guys that are willing to hoist it off ball, this makes sense. This is the best option you have in house for that. This is why he gets a 10-day versus Sharif Cooper, and Sharif Cooper's I think inarguably been better in the G League this year. The other side of it is that if you look at the structure of the roster, Dylan Windler's probably done. Say la vie Dylan Windler, it's not going to work. Evan, by the way, real quick, how did you feel when Dylan Windler and Sam Merrill on the court at the same time on Tuesday?
It was a fun G League reunion for the Charge guys with Merrill, Windler, and Mobley playing together at the same time. And Danny Green getting some rep is great too, but those three that I mentioned before were playing a lot of G League games together over the last few weeks.
It's Merrill is going to come in and he's that replacement, and he's also theoretically, depending on what happens with Jetty Osman. Jetty Osman's contract is non-guaranteed for next year. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's elsewhere via trade. Maybe you don't guarantee it and he just leaves. This is hey, we have a really cost-controlled option to slide into those two roster spots. Do I think are they sure that he's a rotation piece? No, he's 6'5", He's a little smaller than you probably like, but he can really shoot it, and maybe you could find a need for that, and maybe you could find some minutes for that as you go. And it's at least like a very cheap, like there's non-guarantees in year 2 and year 3. Like you can just like,
Yep.
doesn't work, you wipe your hands clean, you go find someone else to fill that roster spot. It's really not a big deal. Okay, let's talk about the weirdos on Twitter specifically. I do not understand. I understand the Cavs need shooting. I think we both have been like this whole season being like,
we are no strangers to the subject of the fact that the Cavs lack shooting.
Yeah, we like, okay, like we've talked about the argument for Jetty Osman. We talked about the importance of Kevin Love when he was able to shoot the basketball well. We've talked about Dean Wade and like how you kind of need him just to like make shots, and that would give you a lot of value. The idea that like you're just gonna like play Sam Merrill because he can shoot late in the season when you're playing for real things, when he had this wacky foot sprain last year that required surgery, and I think if he not exact like he's still kind of working his way back fully, but just the idea that you would take this guy who you had in the G League all year but didn't sign and just like throw him into the deep end right before the playoffs, to me is nonsense. That's nonsense. Well, that would be coaching malpractice.
Yeah, it's coaching malpractice. It's a disservice to Sam Merrill as well. Just like the fact that like, hey, we clearly have future intentions with you after signing you this freshly minted contract and also just signing to a 10-day before this, but it just doesn't make sense. And coaching malpractice is a good way to put it, because I think people, again, just get too obsessed with the micro sense. We're like, oh, the Cavs need shooting. There's a clear answer on the roster. Everyone's like, well, now maybe Sam Merrill can play. Like, that was the most common joke I saw from a lot of people that I consider friends, colleagues, and everything like that. I'm just like, okay, let me give you the skizzy on this one. I don't go to a lot of Charge games, but I went to plenty this year. I did watch Sam Merrill a lot just because the Charge picked him first overall. And I think just the fact that he showed a little bit of a pulse of the Charge gives you some intrigue. To your point, Sharif Cooper is arguably the better player, but the Cavs are loaded at the point guard spot, and I don't know if like Cooper fits their long-term vision of like a heir apparent to Ricky Rubio backing up Darius Garland one day. So to your point, Merrill provides you shooting. He is a shooting guard by nature. He's not a small forward, but like I just don't think he's 100% after that ankle injury still. Like I still think he's still trying to physically get back to the court and feel comfortable out there. And again, he wasn't in training camp with the Cavs this year. He was a draft pick by the Charge. This is now an opportunity for JB Bickerstaff and his staff, and as well as the Cavs front office, to maybe evaluate him a little bit more up close with the guys at the NBA level, whereas you're watching with the G League level instead, and get a better understanding of it. So when summer league rolls around, you get more footage with it. When training camp comes along, you get more data with it as well. And then you can evaluate things. And again, the Cavs have to really work within the margins. They are right up against this luxury tax threshold with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland being your frontliners money-wise. And you have to navigate this stuff and find cheap, cost-controlled depth. And Chris, God, since I joined this show a couple years ago, like we've been advocates of the Cavs doing this with the G League, similar to what the Heat did with their guys. And if it works, you keep them around longer. If it doesn't, you, like you said, you cut bait and you just move on and look at someone else.
And like, this is the Kobe Altman special.
Yeah. It's not like he's not getting the Jordan Bell treatment, at least not for now, but he is on a similar contract structure to what Lamar Stevens went through when he was on a 2A, or Dean Wade went through when he was on a 2A. Sam Merrill's following a similar path, and if anything, it's a feather in the cap for the Cavs, utilizing the Charge or the two-way system properly to develop some guys. And like Isaiah Mobley's going to be another guy like that too. Like he may not get the Altman special fully, but he might get something similar to it where he's cheap, cost-controlled depth behind Mobley and Allen next year, because I don't know, you can maybe roll with those two, but you need a guy that's probably a little bit fresher than Robin Lopez, soaking up some of those backup minutes at times.
I think if you want to argue that a shooter should play, it's Jetty and it's not Sam Merrill.
It's Jetty, or I make the sneaky argument that if somehow Dean Wade found his shot and it's still not there, even though he shot it plenty tonight against Charlotte, that's your other option, just because he's a little bigger and plays better defensively.
Also, if JB Bickerstaff was not going to play Danny Green, I don't think he's going to play Sam Merrill.
That's my other argument. Like if Danny Green is available, I think it's better than, no disrespect to Sam Merrill, but like Danny Green provides you perimeter defense and 3-point shooting. Sam Merrill is very hard on the defensive side of the ball just to kind of consume. And yeah, he's a movement shooter, but like, again, it's a thin layer, whereas Green is a little bit of a thicker layer because he provides you just a touch more than what Sam Merrill can give you.
Yeah. All right, let's end there. That's enough Sam Merrill discussion. We'll, I guess, like, I don't even know how we'll do a season review of him because, like, what was there really to say other than he showed up and
we'll have
he was there.
Jackson on the show. Fear the Sword Zone charge writer Jackson to talk about Sam Merrill.
I don't think I really want to do a Sam Merrill episode if I'm being honest with you.
Listen, man, we talk, but money screams, and I think money's going to drive us no matter what. Anyways, subscribe to us on YouTube. If you are our 4,000 subscriber, I'll say thanks to you personally.
Yeah, we'll do a giveaway for 4,000. That could be fun. But thanks again.
I have a Donovan Mitchell bobblehead just sitting in a box. We might do a giveaway when we get to 5,000. So keep pumping those numbers up, folks.
Yeah, 5,000. We'll do a big giveaway. That would be fun. All right, thanks again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. Thanks again to Jake Stevens for producing. Check him out as the Merrier on Spotify, your music platform of choice. Now make your second listen game-to-game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts.